every time we do this. Okay, I think that we are live. Welcome to the book launch for the second official book in the series of Seer of York series. Boy, that's kind of a mouthful. The Somnia by Alethea Lyons. The first book is The Hiding. There's a 1.5, which is a series of short stories called The Reawakening. Congratulations, Thea.
Thank you.
Release day. Release day is always exciting. The hardback should be out later this week, but the paperback did launch appropriately last night. As a matter of fact, some of the book winners from our book giveaway actually got the book Sunday and Monday, and mine is supposed to be delivered tomorrow. So I was like, how? How do you get it before the publisher? So
it's been great to see some out in the wild. It was like,
yes, it's been very fun. Yeah, it's been very fun. It's been very fun. So we're Heather and Steve. We're Bridget's Gate Press. Thea, I'll let you introduce yourself. And then Taylor, the same.
Hi, I'm Thea. So I wrote, which side is it on? I wrote this.
Yeah, there. Yep.
And if it lets me show them. These two that Heather mentioned. And yeah, I write dark fantasy based in the UK where I live. That's kind of creepy and gothic and about family.
Yeah.
Oh, it's my turn. Oh no.
It's your turn. It's your turn.
Hi, I'm Taylor. I am the author of Horror and Horrormance. And my debut comes out with Peachtree Teen this year on September 30th. It's called Hollow. And another book coming out next fall called Deborah's and Shadows. I'm happy to be here because I've known Thea since the beginning.
Yes, you were the one who actually made me go online and join the writing community and query the book in the first place. So you are responsible for this.
It needs to be assigned. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Well, it's great. It's great to be doing another book launch. And we had some exciting news a week or two ago. We've signed a contract. Oh, here's Ed. Hold on. Let's get him in the stage.
Yeah, let's hope we can hear him now.
Hi, Ed.
Oh, brilliant! It works. I'm so so sorry.
Yes.
I have this stupid webcam thing where it turns off my microphone and then I have to restart everything. Yeah, Logitech, need a word with them. Yeah. Hi guys.
Hi. You're just in time, Ed. We're just doing introductions, and it's your turn.
Oh, brilliant. Okay, it's like I planned it. I wasn't late. I planned it. I'm Ed. Hi. I'm always late to everything. And I am the author of the Everland trilogy. First book, Lightfall, has just come out in January, and Thea's very kindly holding it up there. It's like an epic fantasy with vampires and werewolves and sorcerers. Yeah, what else about me? That's it, probably, for the purposes of this. Yeah, and I'm a big fan of Thea's brilliant series, which is why I'm here now.
Thanks, Dad.
Did we just pronounce her name Thea? Thea, do you say your name Thea?
Thea.
All right, we have been mispronouncing it now. All right.
What are we calling it today? So
We're horrible Americans.
Well,
We've called her Thea for 2 years now.
No.
And I, in typical British fashion, have not said anything.
Has said nothing. Has said nothing. We are living up to the stereotypes of our countries of origin.
I've even brought tea, so.
That is so
And I
funny.
have-
Yorkshire tea.
I might have been saying it wrong. Have I been saying it wrong?
No,
No.
you said it right. As soon
Amanda's
as you said
waiting to be let in, by the way.
as soon as you said it, I was like, oh no. Oh no. It's like the very first time I ever went to London, I told a cabbie that I wanted to go to Cadogan Gardens. And he, for the life of, we really struggled. And he finally said, love, write it down. And said, I wrote it down. And he goes, Cadogan, you want to go to Cadogan Gardens? And he goes, everything you want to say with a hard vowel, try to make it soft. He goes, or you'll never get around here. Oh no!
I'm the only one who's wrong, so that's good.
No.
We've got Amanda waiting as well.
Oh, great!
She'll be just in time to introduce herself.
Hi, Amanda.
howdy, Amanda.
Hi.
Hi, Amanda.
I have tea too, even though I'm in America.
In America, we're just doing introductions. You want to do a quick intro for yourself?
Sure. I'm Amanda Castile. I am the author of Broken Trail, which will come out this December. And I am an avid reader of The Hiding and the Somnia and Reawakening, all of Thea's work. So I'm excited to be here.
Thank you for coming.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, so, usually, now I can't remember how to say your name correctly.
Thea.
Thea. I'm having real panic. Thea. Usually, we go about and we talk a bit and we talk about fun writing stuff, but Thea and I kind of agreed beforehand that we would discuss politics and reading and politics and writing and politics and books. Because, that's kind of the climate we're all living in right now, more than normal, maybe. And some of us are feeling that a little harder than others, maybe right now, especially right now. So, Thea, do you want to start or you want me to start?
No, I can start. I've written words because, hi, I'm a writer. So I'm going to vaguely read the words that I've written. And we will have banter and launch party fun.
Right.
But
we'll try to stick them in. Yeah.
In the current climate, as Heather was saying, it felt wrong to ignore what was happening, especially when we're writing books that are specifically political, that are about diversity, that are about religious diversity, neurodiversity, and similar. So I have words. And I will just say that what I'm saying, obviously, is entirely my own views. I'm not speaking for my publishers or Taylor, Ed, and Amanda at all. They can say whatever they want to say, but this is just me. So the world's a scary place, and it is terrifying to see the books I studied in school, like 1984, Handmaid's Tale, Fahrenheit 451, coming to life in front of us. Reading is political. What we choose to read, what we talk about and recommend, and whether we're silent or loud in the face of book bans. Writing is political. That can be by addressing hard issues head on, or by offering escapism into a cozier world, or sometimes both. I always intended my books to have a political message. Not in your face, I hope, but shown through what's considered normal in their worlds. I've tried by means of names, discussions about family, and natural conversations about faith to show that Harper's World is multicultural. It is not my place to tell a story about all those cultures. However, I strongly believe in showing our coexistence and friendship. No one in their world bats an eye at people of different faiths working together or being like family, and I pray to one day live in a world where that's true as well. It's not so obvious in The Hiding and the Somnia that most of the characters I write are queer. They live in a queer normative world, and no one is pulled up on it. Introducing yourself with your pronouns is considered the polite normal. Non-binary pronouns are commonly used. And if someone says their pronouns are she, then no one would think twice about whether they were assigned female at birth or not. I also write a lot of bi characters, which will become more obvious in The Dreamwalker, which is book 3, which is always part of the plan that romantic subplot would start to come in then, though the current climate is making me want to lean even more into it. So my point is this: no matter what the people in power say, our world needs diversity. It needs all our myriad colours. Trans rights are human rights. Black Lives Matter. And these aren't just things we can trot out when it's safe and convenient. These are truths at all times, in all places, and I encourage you to seek out and amplify those voices, especially now when people in power are working extra hard to silence and erase them. I write dark fiction. However, I always want to show a light in that darkness. Harper and Company are part of that light in the Seer of York books. They embrace the magic their government is trying to erase. They protect innocence even when it's dangerous. And in our world, we must make our own light, because there is always hope. Did you say you had something you wanted to add, Heather?
Yeah, first of all, I think that's very well said.
Thank you.
And I feel very comfortably saying that I would be very comfortable putting our names underneath that statement. I think that the world is a very frightening place. And I think depending on where you live in the world has been a very frightening place for a long time, or maybe just the last 3 or 4 years. Maybe it's becoming more frightening now, more than ever. Maybe it's a little less frightening. I don't know. But I think that where I live, it's more frightening than it was 5 years ago. Or
Yeah.
so it's like watching the worst dystopian novels I read growing up come true, and not knowing how to stop it, and fighting every day, and then trying to figure out how to rest so you don't burn out, and trying to protect the people you love and trying to be true to who you are. And that's one of the things that I've always really admired about Harper, is Harper always is in a position of being true to herself. And it's very scary to be Harper's true self, because she's living in a universe where, you know, being who she really is it puts her up against the political elite, the people in charge. It could get her killed. It puts the people that she loves in danger. And Harper is definitely, and the people she surrounds herself with, is the fundamental definition of found family, which I think a lot of us can identify with, you know. And I'm very close to my bloodborne family, but we have a huge found family group as well. And so that's one of the things I've always loved about The Hiding, is how Harper constantly is put in a position of having to be hidden and having to be true to herself. And I think now more than ever, people are in a position where it's so important to be true to who you are and also protect yourself. And I just wonder, Thea, is it Thea?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll get it. Hopefully it doesn't take me a full year, but I'll get it. I just wonder, is it something that you were actively aware of, or was it something as you were writing Harper that just kind of unfolded as the story unfolded? Or when you sat down to write her, had you already decided that would be kind of the constant pull she was in?
Yes, I'd say it was something that was there from the very beginning for her. I wanted to write something that, without highlighting a particular diversity, showed how there were things that could be inherent in us that some people would wrongly view as evil,
Right.
but would then, how do those two sides work together? And how do we see past what people think of as evil, even when it isn't? And she was always going to have that conflict of being a foot on either side of the fence, and that she is in some ways helping the people who are oppressing the people on the other side, and trying to work out where she actually stands and what her moral choice is when both moral choices are bad.
Right. And I think, listen, I have to tell you, and I mean, it's my job as their publisher to market and plug the book, right? So I understand that this is going to sound a little jaded coming from me. So I get it. But, you know, I work with a government agency. It's how I make my money in the United States. I've done it literally my whole life. My grandfather created the company in 1971. I grew up under his desk. You know, I short of going to college and working a few years outside of the family company, I've always done this job. And I can't imagine not doing its job. And I have people I've worked with for over 10 years who are leaving the job before they get laid off or terminated, or aren't fighting to keep the job because they're afraid staying does more harm than good. And I have other colleagues who are staying and fighting to stay because they fear leaving does more harm than good. And, it depends on the position they're in, of course, but it's a very difficult position to be in, because on one hand, you think you're feeding the regime, and on the other hand, if you leave, you're abandoning the people who depend on you.
Right.
And it's a difficult position every morning to wake up. I can only imagine if I worked at a .gov right now, every day what the struggle would be, trying to decide not only my own personal, how do I keep a roof over my head? How do I afford groceries next week? But the decision to stay or go in my position, trying to decide if me staying or me going, what helps the people I serve more. It's a daily struggle. I mean, I talk to people every day who are like, well, I woke up today and decided it made more sense to stay, and I do more good fighting and staying, but I don't know if that's true tomorrow. I don't know if that's actually true now. And that struggle is so real in these books. Like, it's such a piece of who Harper is, that and it's not always out loud, but Harper is constantly put in the position of A or B, A or B, A or B, knowing that, and I think this is really in the Somnia, and I'm not going to give away any spoilers, so let me think about how I talk about it really fast. Well, we talk about this in the book, in the back. So, she's faced with this killer, and she's faced with making a decision of, how to confront them, how to find them. But the only way to do it is to use magic, which puts her at risk and everybody she loves at risk. And so she's constantly making the decision of which path is the better good. Is it A or is it B? Is it A or is it B? And so I didn't, when we first read the manuscript, I didn't expect to be living in the world where I would wake up every morning and go, well, A or B, A or B. But it feels very real right now, more than even it did when we did the first read through. And, but at the same time, it's fiction. So there's an escapism in it. I started rereading it again this weekend, and there's enough escapism in it, and there's enough snark here and there that, it elicits a good laugh and a good relief where you can still kind of be like, okay, you can be okay. You can make it through this. There's survival at the end of this. So I don't really know where I was trying to go with this, other than it's been kind of a relief.
Can I jump in?
Yeah, I'll jump in before I just babble all over for the next 30 minutes.
I was gonna say, that's what I like about Harper's story, and I felt it especially in the Somnia, that like it is very dark. Like, it's very dark fiction, but it has this level of coziness and level of hope of where you can see how things could be and maybe how things should be. And it kind of gives you this hope that out of darkness, you can get to this like diverse level, where acceptance is kind of the norm. So, yeah.
I think if you're talking about politics as well, since we're going political, I think there's a strong sort of immigration theme in this series. And what I like is it's not like hit round your head. It's very obviously there, but it's very much part of the world. It's not like, any point it's like, right, we're going to talk about immigration now. It's very much, but it's also very obvious, thematically. And the very first thing, this isn't a spoiler because it's the very first thing that happens in the first book, The Hiding. well, still technically, well, there's a murder at the start of The Hiding, right? And it's yeah, it's not a spoiler. It's like the very first thing that happens. Kind of a spoiler. And it's by well, I can't can't say who it's by, but it's obviously it's probably a supernaturally connected murder. And so the very first thing that you see is these things are scary and they're to be feared. And from that moment on, you find out more and more and more about the world. And as the knowledge increases, the fear level, and I mean, there's still some scary things in the books. There's still some bad things, but the fear level decreases and the understanding increases. So to me, it's a great analogy about how, if you're just told every day that, these things are scary and they've come to ruin your life, and you never try and expand your knowledge, then, the world kind of gets screwed up. But if you get people like Harper, who literally like go to work in a library, her whole, existence is embodied by knowledge. She's a representation of knowledge in that book. And she discovers more and more about the history, of this world, and the things which seem scary, i.e. the immigrants, turn out not to be mostly that actual scary. So for me, it's a very kind of topical through line, which has become more topical as you've written it, since Trump's got elected.
Yeah, I didn't anticipate it to catching up that much with the real world. Go on, Taylor, sorry.
No, I was agreeing, and I was also going to add that the thing that becomes scarier is the status quo, which I think is a very salient thing to point out. The thing that the main character becomes scared of is the thing that she thought protected her. And it's tied in very strongly with religion, both books, all books, 3 books. And all I could think when I was reading the Somnia was how well you wove together this deep faith that Harper has, but this distrust of authority that she's developed because of what happened in The Hiding. And that is actually the kind of thing we need, not just to read, but to embody at this moment politically and socially. It's so cool how you do it, because it's not heavy-handed.
Right.
And it would have been just easy to say, like, oh, the way that 1984 kind of said, oh, this is the big bad. Instead, there are good actors within the system, and we know that's true historically and currently, but overwhelmingly, you're facing kind of labyrinthine social problem. How do you know who is good? How do you know who to trust? How do you know whose ideas about religion and immigration or immigrants and supernatural people are good, align with yours or not? And it creates this conflict across these books, very sorely needed.
I think there's going to be a few surprises in The Dreamwalker in book 3 as to where some people fall in terms of what side and where their sympathies really lie.
Oh, that'll be interesting to read. Yeah, just to give a tease, give a tease. So I think that, I mean, listen, there's a lot to unpack, but the thing here at our house, we call it the very British way. And that and I feel comfortable saying this because I'm American, but Americans can be very aggressive and crass sometimes in the way that we unfold things. I know it's shocking to hear, especially right now, because we hide it so well. It's the thing no one knows about us. But, it almost kind of creeps up on you in the Hiding, where it kind of unfolds gently and you're like, oh, okay. And so I think in a way it makes it more profound. And the thing I wonder is that true because I'm American, or is that universally true? And I don't know how to answer that because I am 100% Midwestern American.
And this is your time.
Yeah, right. But I do wonder, I'd like to do a poll maybe of if you're not American, if you read this book, does this feel more profound to you? reading it this way, because it does to me. It, you know, the way it kind of, I don't want to say softly, but I can't think of the proper word.
Subtly,
Yeah,
maybe.
subtly, yeah. How it kind of subtly, because immigration isn't in your face. The multi-diverse religion isn't in your face. You know,
Right.
what's under everyone's underwear isn't in your face. Like, none of that is crass or out loud.
Right.
It's very subtle, very gentle, and it unfolds very quietly. And to me, very profoundly, because of the way it's presented.
Right.
I don't know.
Well, and I can say I really appreciate when an author can pull that off. So, I mean, this is a little bit of praise. This is some praise towards Thea here. I love when they can take political ideas or concepts and get them in there to where it actually does make you think, like you were saying, without, and some other people have said, it's not shoving it in your face or grabbing you in a full Nelson and pounding it into you. You know, to use a really very rough analogy, but yeah, I appreciate when an author can do that. So I think you did a very great job on that.
I think it's interesting. Oh, sorry.
I'm Britishly bad at accepting compliments as well. But thank you.
Well, we can just glaze right over it then. We can present like it didn't happen.
Right.
Yeah.
What were you saying, Ed?
No, I was just going to say, I think it was Taylor that mentioned religion, because I think that's a super interesting point as well. In that, often, sometimes in fantasy, you'll get, oh, it's religious guys are the bad guys, often deservedly so, but it's much more subtle in this series, and actually, unless I've missed a major plot point, like so far. Well, I shouldn't say anything, but it seems like some of the religious people are the good guys here, and some of the more authoritarian people are, you know, this sort of scary Queensguard 1984 types people. And there's a kind of almost in some ways the church and well, all the faiths are sort of I think, is it the Council of Faiths? They're all kind of come together. It's called the Council of Faiths. So anyone who's not read the series is like so you know you have the Christians and the Muslims and well, all the faiths, they all come together. And they're sort of opposite to the Queensguard, which are like these sort of scary kind of, you know, we're going to hunt down the monsters and the magic sort of Orwellian people. And it's nice to sort of, and Harper herself works in a library within, you know, one of the best buildings in the world, York Minster, and well, one of the best, you know, cathedrals, minsters in the world. And so it's almost recrafting. I mean, you know, I'm an atheist, and I'm often skeptical of religion, but I'm often, you know, supportive of religious people who want to practice without dogma, etc. So, and I think this kind of gives quite an interesting positive view on a non-dogmatic, possibly religious way forward, unless you're going to do a twist in the next book and they will turn out to be the enemy.
Ruin everything for Ed, right?
Yeah. And we'll just turn our nose at that.
Yeah.
No, I think you're pretty accurate there, Ed. I mean, I make no secret about the fact that I'm a Christian, and the Christianity in Harper's World is kind of based on a mishmash of different churches that I've been to or my family has been to over the years, rather than being a direct equivalent of one of our denominations. And I mean, big thank you as well to my Muslim friends who have weighed in for Saqib's parts so that I can make sure I'm getting him as accurate as possible. But it is important to me to show religion in a positive light, because I think, as you say, Ed, a lot of the time in fantasy, you have these dark gods who are trying to destroy the world, or the religion is purely shown on the fundamental side, and actually most world faiths and most of the people who follow them follow a path that leads down from love.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it's supposed to be. Yeah.
I like how the religion, I'm also an atheist, but I really enjoyed reading the religion in this book, because it feels much more like faith-based than dogmatic, if that makes sense. And it does feel like it comes from a place of love. And I think that shows in Harper especially too, that she kind of approaches everything with this non-judgmental love,
Right.
kind of.
I think there's your difference between spirituality and religion, in that you
Yeah.
can have faith
Yeah.
and believe in something, whereas I think often the word religion is the institution, which is not always historically been
Right.
a positive
Right.
force. And I think, again, we're seeing a lot of that now of people who are claiming to belong to various religions. And we've seen it for the last 20, 30 years throughout history. People say they're part of a religion and then do terrible things that are not actually condoned by that faith.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, honestly, you could say that from the beginning of mankind, from the beginning of the written word. The monotheists were better at writing it down than the ancient world, but we like to talk about the Crusades and the awful wars that we've had in the name of the monotheistic God. But I'm just going to tell you, the ancient world believed that their gods participated right beside them. I mean, reread the Iliad.
Yeah.
Apollo makes quite a show. So it's, for as long as we could write, we've involved as many as we could in a dogmatic way to justify whatever war we could, whatever hatred we could. But it's part of the first rule of how to conquer the world is give somebody to hate.
Yes.
So
It's a key word, isn't it? Dogma. Because I think any religious people I've come across in my life where I've been like, yeah, you get it, even though I'm an atheist, like that seem kind or all about compassion, they're never dogmatic. And all the bad ones, they're always dogmatic. So for me, like, this is a bit of a tangent, spare with me, but my favorite bands, or one of my favorite bands, is a band called Bad Religion. And sometimes when I tell people this and they go, oh, you must hate religion, whatever. And I'm like, no. The band members themselves have said that doesn't mean like anti-Christian or anti-Judaism, whatever. It's religion represents dogma, so you can be a dogmatic capitalist. You can be a whatever, any kind of. So religion or dogma, in my eyes, is always bad. Certainty is always bad. Aggressively putting certainty on others is always bad. But if you just want to live your lives and help people, I don't care what you believe in. And going back to the point, that's one of the reasons I love about Thea's books is that all the sort of found family crew, none of them are dogmatic. They're always like ready to immediately change their perception of what's true based on new information, which is the definition of being sort of anti-dogmatic. And it's like a found family that are constantly resisting dogma, and that can include being friendly to religion as long as you're not dogmatic. That's my TED talk. Sorry.
I feel like I feel like we're going to end this one by thanks for coming to our TED talk.
I think
okay
my favorite reaction from the religious point of view, if you will, of someone to Harper's Magic is Sakib, who kind of goes through this moment of shock of, okay, this person who I'm friends with who has saved my life is a witch. What the heck is going on here? To, well, actually, she's saved my life with it. And now you're telling me she's not very good at it and our lives depend on it?
Right. Yeah.
Good line.
Yeah. I don't know. I just feel like, so much, and I mean, this is true, but political climates can change overnight.
Yeah.
So The Hiding in the beginning felt like a really fun book to talk, and a really great vehicle to talk about diverse multiculturalism and religion. And now I feel like with the climate we're in right now, it's a really important series to talk about diversity and inclusion, period, just across the board. And so what started is kind of a fun escapism and,
Has some serious things to say.
right. I don't want to say lesson, but like
Right.
lesson in anti-dogmaism. Is that a word?
Dogmatism.
We're right. It's a word now.
Yeah. But, now it feels more important to me than that. So I mean, I don't want to rush you, but I could really use the third book soon. You know, just anything, first few chapters, whatever you got. But this does bring me to our next, I think, important poll that we should take. And that is, there are two characters, and we didn't meet one of them until the Reawakening, Zero. But the first one is...
You did meet him in the hiding, but I've only had one person find all of the occasions so far. So
I
there's
have
a
to tell
test
you,
for anyone.
You told me that before, and I went back and read the hiding and missed Zero again. Completely. And it makes me feel like a horrible reader. Have you reread the hiding yet?
Not yet.
Because he was going to. Because I was like, she mentioned that Zero is in here.
I just want to go and check now. Can I just go for 20 minutes
Yeah,
and find it?
I mean, like, I feel like opening the PDF and just searching the word white and cat. But
It will
it
not
does.
necessarily show up if you just put that in. It's not necessarily that she sees him.
It's sneaky. It's sneaky. I'll tell you that.
Sneaky few times in there. He does show up. I say only one person who constantly sent me screenshots saying, "Is this him?" I was like, "Yes."
So
All right. Well,
this is the reader's challenge. Then
challenge accepted.
we may do some kind of giveaway. the first person who finds the first page number.
I think I'd have to reread it chapter.
Yeah, now we need cheats. But listen, there's a snarky beloved demon. When we did a poll,
Yes.
we did a poll once on favorite characters, I think, didn't we? In the hiding. And when the Reawakening came out, I think that Zero gave our snarky demon a run for his money.
Yeah, I saw a few reviews that he was pulling ahead on.
Yeah. So I'm wondering, just among us friends, what do you think? Who's your favorite?
I was thinking about this on my long drive from Connecticut to Rhode Island, and I tentatively,
right? We
like
won't hold you to the
Zero
end. Yeah.
better. I love Heresy, and they're
Right.
very different.
Very.
Very, very different characters, and both delightful. But Zero has this kind of goodwill attached,
Right.
and he really just wants to be a helper. And especially at the beginning of the Somnia, you can really tell that he's just trying to do the right thing. He doesn't know what the right thing is. But he's so endearing and so lovely and so smart and thoughtful, where Heresy is so cunning and quick and sharp, and sometimes a little haughty in a way that I enjoy.
Right.
But I've always kind of liked Zero better. It's probably also because I have cats, so
Right.
right. I don't know if anybody agrees with me or disagrees with me, but that is my opinion.
I almost agree with you. I have been full Heresy the whole time, like fully team Heresy. Oops, sorry. I don't know why that just happened. I can't seem to
Heresy.
That was Heresy celebrating your choice.
That was my
That was Heresy hacking into your computer?
What?
That was Heresy hacking into your computer.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't want to hear what I have to say next. But by the end of the Somnia, I was like, maybe I like Zero more. But I'm not prepared to fully say that yet. But I like Zero more by the end of the Somnia. Maybe not more than I like Heresy, though. If that makes sense.
Opposite sides of me. Can I be that snarky? I don't think I can be that snarky.
No. Sorry.
Like, I don't know where Heresy
Immediately,
vibes come from.
absolutely not. You are too lovely.
What about you,
Opinion.
Ed?
I I was gonna say I think about this a lot. That makes it sound like every single day I just sit there and think about it.
Right? Right?
Which is close to true. No, so like I love Zero, and especially like Amanda says, by the end of the book, it's it's hard not to kind of there's a lot of emotion things happen, but it's got to be Heresy for me, only because I just have these great memories of first reading The Hiding. I ended up reading. I think I've technically read The Hiding 3 times. Once when I beta read it for Thea, and then once when again when the actual book, and then just again for some reason. I think it was before the Somnia I reread, because I have too much time on my hands, and I like to reread books before sequels, because I'm a weirdo. And so I just like those scenes where where you first meet Heresy, and I just have these great memories of just absolutely loving his dialogue, and he's such a little dick. It's he pronoun for Heresy, right?
Yes.
Yes, just check,
says, yeah.
Yes, so he's such like a glorious dick, and and I like characters that have that kind of edge to them, and like Heresy never really softened, like becomes part of the found family, but still that sort of little edge. And I think when sort of he and Zero kind of clash, there's sort of a little bit of that kind of edge to it, and I like characters that never get rid of their edge, so yeah. But I love Zero, but Team Heresy.
I mean, Heresy's had his snark for a few hundred years now. I don't think he's going to be losing it for one insignificant little witch.
Probably not.
But I love your later comments, Ed. I think I just have like a document of you cackling at Heresy, basically.
I love that. I love snarky dialogue. It's just yeah.
I mean, I've read your book, and you do love snarky dialogue. So if you like Heresy, read Ed's book.
I think I was editing my book around the time I beated yours, so maybe Heresy kind of, filtered into my book. I don't know. Who can say?
That's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
That's you.
I would say I'm pretty strongly on Team Heresy as well.
Yeah.
Why does everybody like Heresy so much? Zero is so lovely.
Let me tell you here's the thing about Heresy. Heresy is like that high school boyfriend that is no good for you. You know it. That's why you leave him behind. But there's always that little sliver of your heart that will always belong to that bad guy. Always. So when you see him in a book, you're like, oh yeah, that guy. Oh yeah, that guy. Yeah, that guy. But I'm Team Zero. I'm Team Zero, which is why I'm desperately trying to find them in the book. I've got to find them. I'm going to find them. Yeah.
I think I remember it. I'm not going to tell you where it is.
Don't tell me. I'm going to find it. I'm going to find it. I will tell you, the Heresy Zero debates got pretty heated here at the house. And before the Somnia, even in Reawakening, they got pretty. We had teams where the team captains. Each team only has one person, but it got pretty rough for a while here, and so we'll see. Yes.
What do you think?
Is this a way to get us to reread The Hiding? Yes, it is. Let me know if you're successful. If it's successful, but yeah, it.
What do you think of that comment, Thea, about Angel versus Spike, comparing to Heresy and?
I mean, you can tell I watched Buffy growing up, so.
See, I feel left out because I did not.
Yeah.
I did not watch Buffy. I don't know what I was doing the years Buffy came out.
Oh, that's a great series. It's one
I know.
of my favorites.
I still haven't seen it.
Like, you gotta have your family gang hunted down some supernatural things and being snarky about it.
I see the influence of Buffy so much in so many like books from like my generation, all these characters, snarky dialogue, and I'm like, I know you watch Buffy. It's like really a bit of.
Oh, we all did. Oh, and libraries are important.
What's really funny is I did not watch Buffy, but I feel like those are the comps we always end up signing. You watched Buffy.
Oh yeah.
It's simply through osmosis.
It must be. I mean, I really don't know what I was doing those years. What years did Buffy come out? What was I doing instead?
Late 90s, early 2000s.
So do
well,
I
we
have
had
to pick as well between the two?
we had children. We had children.
Yeah.
That's what I was doing. There was 10,000 children by then. Why did you have time to watch TV?
I'm not going to talk about
Right? Now there's going to be a different kind of fight at our
Yeah.
house.
Apparently, I'm just here causing marital problems for you guys.
Right,
So sorry
causing
about that.
marital problems across the board. Character
That is
problems, TV
literally the best kind of book.
problems. Yeah, that causes nonstop. But it's probably because you watch them on rerun.
Oh, yeah.
You know, back then you had a DVR, so you could record shows, and he
Yeah,
always did
I
the
know.
midnight. He always did the midnight kid stuff while
Yeah,
I was sleeping.
Buffy
So
was
he watched
already
all sorts of TV that I missed because
Buffy
I
was-
was sleeping.
Buffy was already over as a series before I started watching it.
Yeah.
So I mean, did it end in the early 2000s, or did
Yeah.
it all end
Yeah.
completely?
Oh, maybe we were getting them from the library then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But now you don't have to rewatch it. You can just read these books.
Yeah,
you
that's
go.
true. Now you can just read these.
Yeah, it has that level of snark. It has the,
Yeah.
like supernatural hunting, found family. Got it all.
And you get the bonus of a cat.
Exactly.
Right, and this one has a cat, which apparently Buffy did not have.
Sorry about that.
We just need some of
You
the
shouldn't choose your favorite
romance.
characters, but I think
Yeah.
that I have this on my desk if I can get it to go in the non-blurry bit.
There you go.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
All right.
The crystal.
This is my little
seal.
York cat. I mean, they say to, see which character an author loves most, look at the one they torture the most.
Oh.
And
Ooh.
yeah, poor Zero goes through hell, and he is my
Mhm.
baby. I wrote bits of the Somnia first, and it was really weird to go back and write The Hiding where he isn't in it hardly. And I'm like, I
Uh-huh.
miss him.
That's interesting.
I don't think I knew that you wrote part
I
of
didn't
the
either.
Somnia first.
I did it
What
for
did-
NaNoWriMo one year, and like it looks completely different now 5 years later. I
Sure.
don't think there is a single scene that's technically the same or moved over, just the very basic bones. But I wrote it and I read it and I was like, this is a book too. We need to go back and see where these people all came together.
What
Yeah.
did you write first out of curiosity? Like which scene? Obviously it's different, but
Or which characters, maybe? Like which characters came to you first?
Well, they kind of all came at once literally in a dream, which I suppose is appropriate for Harper. And I
Yeah.
couldn't remember the
Yeah.
whole thing when I woke up, but the bit that I remembered was basically like this home scene, and it's made it slightly into one of the books, and I can't remember which one, which is AJ in his room and Sakib in the lounge playing video games with Zero curled up on the couch as a cat, and Harper bursting in and be like, guys, we're supposed to be going and solving this thing. Something's happened. What are you doing? And where's Heresy? And Heresy being in the computer game and just being like, what, you expect me to look after you all the time? And Grace being completely bored and reading her book in the corner and paying no attention whatsoever.
Very fun.
I didn't
Is
know
that in a collection? I feel like that's in I forgot what it's called. Revisitations, resuscitations,
The Awakening.
Reawakening Sun.
It's in there, so I forget what my
It
own
is,
scenes are. I need to read my own recap at the start of the book and be like, okay, which book?
Yeah.
Oh, for the people who do reread things, I mean, obviously you can reread, but there is a couple of pages at the beginning of the Somnia that's previously on.
Yeah. Yeah. Kind of like I call them the quick starts.
Yeah.
Or the cheat reads for those of us who think we're going to go back and read the first book before the second book comes out. And we have every intention to. And then the second book comes out and we're like, oh no, I don't want to have to reread this whole book. I can't wait.
I end up rereading, and then I've read book one like 10 times by the end of the series.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Yeah, you
This
could
is the
recite
way.
it. You could act it out in a skit in the grocery store.
I'm going to have to duck out early, guys, but I just wanted to say thank you and also yay for the Somnia. And anyone
Yeah.
who's watching, if you haven't gone and bought it yet, you totally should, because I liked it even better than The Hiding. So
Thank you, Amanda. Thank you for coming.
Thanks for coming, Amanda.
Nice
Thanks,
seeing
I'm
you.
over.
bye.
Yeah,
I
and like,
would love to know for you, Thea, how is this release different from your first debut? Is so fraught. Speaking from experience right
Yeah.
now, and being in total panic, but it's fine. But how has it been different for you? Tell me it's not as crazy the second time.
I felt like it
different?
wasn't. Like in the lead up of the last couple of weeks, I've been, I think, a bit more relaxed and I felt more organized. Like I had my street team ready, so I had my people, I knew how things were going to go through. So I felt much more prepared mentally. And then for the last 2 days, I've just been a complete nervous wreck. And illogically, I felt better at midnight when it launched. And I know that there is no reason for that. Like nothing actually changed. But
Oh,
No, it's
I
still
don't
so
know.
scary.
I always feel good when the book goes live.
yeah, just in case something was going to go wrong,
Yeah.
which it obviously didn't, and it's fine. And people were getting them, as you said, before.
Right.
Anyway,
Right.
people were sending me pictures,
Early.
which is great. If you get a book, send me pictures. I love it.
Yeah, I do too. I love to see them in the wild.
It's also been very similar to last year because I had to be back home for this call. So Sprite and I went out for the day to somewhere we could get back in time. So we went to the museum again to see this year's exhibition. So we've been looking at dinosaurs and wild animals and things.
Very fun.
So
Very
it's just
fun.
like just me and the toddler celebrating Mommy's book. He loves my necklace. He's obsessed. It's a bit small to see, but this is the hiding my husband got for me.
Oh,
Yeah.
And
Wow.
Very
Sprite
cool.
was trying to read it. It's like, Mommy's book, this has a lot of pages. It won't open.
Stop. Stop.
So I think this year also
Um,
helps that I had a copy of, well, I don't have a copy of the Somnia, but I have a copy of The Hiding, whereas last year I only had the ebook, and I was like,
Yeah.
I have a book out. I have no book.
Yeah. I have no book. No book.
So, also, why didn't I ask this before? I'm curious. I know that you started drafting the Somnia first, but is there any way in which the universe feels different to you now that you've released a second book in the series? And I know you've released the 1.5. You can also answer for that one too, but it's hard. It's a hard thing to write a series, because the characters are always changing and you're always changing outside of the writing of these things. So I'm curious if writing a second full book in the same world was different for you. If it felt different or if it kind of felt like a natural extension.
It does feel different. And I also expected it to feel more similar writing a book 2 to a book 3, because it's like, okay, you've kind of gotten over that sequel hump and this is just a continuation. And actually book 2 to book 3 is different even, because as you say, the characters have changed. And by the time we're coming into book 2, Harper is not the same person that she was at the beginning of book 1. She's starting to gain a bit more confidence. She's getting better using the magic that she was suppressing. She has more knowledge, like Ed said. And I was also trying to draft that while we were still doing some of the edits on The Hiding. So that's the fun thing about doing series, is that you are drafting one while you're doing edits on the other. So you have to try and keep, because the voice changes that little bit while staying consistent enough that it sounds like it's the same book.
And I think that's the part that made you craziest, was when you were working on the edits for The Hiding, was trying to get back in the more innocent Harper's voice and not let her be as experienced as the Somnia voice.
And then now moving on to the Dreamwalker, where she is quite a bit more experienced and has also had all of this personal stuff that happens at the end of the Somnia, because I think the Somnia is a lot more personal. Like The Hiding is big and world stuff, and there are the individual struggles within that, but the Somnia is so much about Harper that it was also different, trying to kind of keep the team dynamic, but also be so focused in on her specifically.
Can you give us a... I'm sorry.
No, sorry. I'm full of
No,
questions.
you go, Taylor.
Go on.
We're all
No, I'm
full
just
of
always so
questions.
interested to hear from authors. I don't write series. My worlds are interconnected, but I don't write series. And it's always so interesting for me to hear how each book changes, and how, as the deeper you go in a series, as you said, the more you know about your character and the more the story is actually about them, rather than like establishing the world, because you've done that in the first book. And this is why you will never catch me writing a series, because whoa, that it's just so much to manage. And I wonder, I'm sure there are writers in this audience. I wonder how you wrangle that. Obviously, with, as you said, like, it's hard. But how do you? I've seen your post-it notes and your boards.
You can
I
kind of
have
see them
seen
behind me on
them. But
You
for
can
the
see the teaser of them in the background.
but for the edification of your audience, who's not actually behind me, can you talk a little bit about your process in writing a series?
So I know the broad overview of what happens in terms of the main plot line, which I think is also, you see a little bit more of in the Somnia.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very background in the hiding, because the hiding is kind of just that kickoff point. So I think one of the difficult things about the sequels is not making myself too many plot lines, because by the time I get to like book 4, it's going to be this massive tentacled Hydra-esque.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to keep consciously making myself not put some things in. But there are other things that I've tried to hint at or put little bits in that if you've read like book 3 and then you were going back and reading the hiding, you'd be like, oh, that's what that's about. I have one question that if anyone's read the Somnia, I would actually love to ask you about the hiding, but it's so spoilery. I'm just curious. So if anyone's read the Somnia, send me a message so I can ask you this. But yeah, I've got, so you can kind of see blurred behind me. I've got a wall full of posters that I have taken A3 pieces of paper and scribbled on and put post-it notes so I can change the order of things easily. And it kind of starts off with, these are the bare bones of what has to happen for the series plot and for the characters' plots. So you have kind of layers, and then there's the actual individual book plot. So in the Somnia, there are, again, a series of murders, which are the plot that is resolved within that story, just like in the hiding, but leaving some things open for the next one that's continuing. And we were discussing on Twitter about the endings of books and cliffhangers and things. Mm-hmm. And it's getting it to the point where there is a satisfactory ending to the book, even though there are ongoing parts of it.
Right.
So yeah, I have to do it very physically. I can't just do it in my head or on a computer. I mean, what about you, Ed? You're writing a sequel.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I am. Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, I think Taylor's probably right to never write a series. It's a nightmare.
Too hard. Why do you guys do this?
Yeah. Well, I see. I was gonna swap Taylor's sort of creative question and kind of for a cynical series related one, which is one of the things I worry about, and maybe the Bridges Gate crew have an opinion on this, but. Do you ever get worried about how to maintain your audience throughout the series? Because my worry, because my second one will be coming out next year, in my trilogy. So when you have a debut, it's like a nice big splash, and everyone's like, "Oh, it's a big new exciting debut," and everyone gets really excited. It's really cool. And you know, my debut was in January. I think yours is very soon.
September.
Oh, okay, yeah, it's kind of soon. Yeah, this year. I was right. So, like, you know,
Tomorrow.
so yeah, tomorrow. So it's all very exciting, and you know, we're all going through that silent debut year stuff, and then a lot of authors say this, that it kind of, the excitement inevitably dies away because it's harder to bring on new people to say, oh, you've got to read book 1. But obviously there are authors who do it well, and you seem to be following the right path of building up an audience and, you know, doing all your cool stuff. And, you know, so are you, like, how do you approach that sort of trying to build up an audience for your series, create a movement so that books 2, 3, and 4, and probably 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, hopefully, just kind of like keep being exciting? Like, how do you sort of, do you get nervous about it, or how do you feel about it?
Yeah, I think nervous is a good.
Yeah, that's a good word. Good word. Anxiety, panic ridden. Yeah.
I think it's hard with A-series because, you know, there's always going to be some slackening it. You're going to have, you know, 100% of the people who read book 1 aren't necessarily going to read book 2 because some of them won't like it. There's always, no book is universally liked by anyone. So you kind of have to expect that there will be that slight drop off. But hopefully along the way, you can get some people who will immediately see something you've written and pick it up. And I'm hoping they're not just because they're my friends, but I think there are a few people, and some of whom are definitely people I don't know. And I have done the unthinkable thing that authors shouldn't do and read reviews. I know.
Yeah.
But,
Don't do that.
Yeah.
It's fine. I like reading the nice ones. The ones that are not so nice, I'm just like, yeah. Although I would love to know the reviews that mark me down for the fact they don't like the romantic subplot in The Hiding, and I'm like, there's a romantic subplot in The Hiding.
Yeah.
That
That's
was
my
the
favorite.
Help me.
That was my favorite one.
But anyway,
Yeah.
Where is it?
I love the 1-star reviews. They're my favorite because I personally am the kind of backwards person who buys more books on 1-star reviews than I do 4 and 5-star reviews. I don't know what's wrong with me. I don't know if I have like some kind of contrary personality disorder, but but I do. Like, I always read the 1 and 2-star reviews before I read the good reviews of any book on any review site I am on. And I have bought more books from the 1 and 2-star reviews than I ever have from the 4 and 5-star reviews.
One thing I could add on there is a lot of times of those 1 and even 2-star reviews, a lot of times, I hesitate to use the word valid or invalid, but a lot of times they give it that 1 star because there really is, not because it's a bad story or it's not written well, but because there's an element that they just really hate. And about whatever it is, that they don't like that you put that in there, even though other people love it.
Yeah, like they don't like that the animals talk.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a 1-star review. So, but I do find that the people who write 1-star reviews, I mean, some of them are like, it came damaged 1-star review.
Sure.
Okay, well, but the people who write 1 and 2-star reviews really, really write them like they mean it. They need you to belong to the church of the 1-star review. So they write everything they hate about the book. So in a way, it's a better review because I learn more about what the book's about in the 1-star review. And I'm like, well, these are all the things I love about a book.
Yeah.
Put it in the cart. Write it down on the list to get from the library. So maybe that's why.
Like you were saying,
there's part of your momentum there, Ed, as well. Because sorry, I got us off at a tangent.
Yeah.
But I think,
yes.
I'm not that great at social media stuff. But as I was saying with Taylor before, one of the things that's been nice about this release and has been different from the previous, and I think this is whether it's a sequel or whether it's just your second book that's unrelated, is that because there are people who've read the first one, you have people who love it, which is a constant surprise and delight to me. And so there's like this support that that there are these people who will want to read it and who hopefully will enjoy it and seem to be enjoying it. So even though you're always going to lose some because you will have those 1-star people, the people who stick around are the ones who are going to be recommending it and saying, book 3 of the series is coming out. I'm really excited about it.
Right. So I think from a publisher standpoint, the thing that listen, we've only been doing this for a handful of years. Yeah. So I can't say that we're any kind of expert on how this really goes down. But from what we've learned, which may or may not pull out to be true in today's market, is the biggest thing is in a series, you always have people fall off because they liked the first book enough to read the first book, but they didn't like the storyline enough to seek out any book that came after that, or maybe they didn't really care for the first book. The other is American attention span. And as American, of course, any class or advice I get are from another American publishers and distributors. So I can't really speak to any other part of the world. But American attention spans are short. And the romantasy subgenre has almost made this worse because there are romantasy authors that are churning out books every 6 months instead of once a year, which is kind of the traditional fantasy timeline is a new book comes out, like it comes out around the anniversary of the first book, and the third book comes out around the anniversary of the second book. And so Americans kind of have this, you're only putting out one book a year. I don't know if I don't want to wait a year to read the second book. And so they may buy it eventually, but they may not buy it until all the books are out. And some of that is because of some other fantasy authors who have not finished their series. Don't name names.
I'm not going to name
but
names.
They haven't finished their series.
The publisher telling you to write faster, I think.
Yeah, and so some fantasy fans feel a little burned, and so they wait for all of the books to come out, and then they'll buy the first one, and then they buy the second, third, and fourth one, however many books there are in the series, kind of in, the stages they read them in. And so what I thought was
burned by that, I promise you I am finishing this.
Right. And so, I mean, it's kind of interesting, but I was reading something that recently said, in a 5-book series, you are most likely to see an uptick in sales between the third and the fourth book, because people are more apt. Because I think one of it is your name's been out there, the book's been out there. People are used to seeing your name. They're used to seeing the series sub-name. And so I don't know if this is true in other cultures, but in America, and I am the biggest fool for this, if you show me 3 ads, I am most likely going to buy it. If you show me 1 ad, I am not going to buy it. If you show me 2 ads, I'm like, well, maybe. If you show me that 3rd ad in a 30-minute time slot, I'm like, should we get that? Do I need an electric potato peeler? I might. If you show me a 4th time, I'm absolutely buying it. If you show me it a 6th time, I'm buying it for my sister. I mean, I absolutely am who they are marketing to, 100%. And so by the time your 3rd book comes out, you've been in the magazines, you've got your reviews, your name's out there, they've seen it on the shelf. And I think some of it is also, there is a little more like, well, I can read the 3 books, and by the time I'm done reading these 3 books, the 4th book will be out, and now I only have to wait a year for the 5th book. So I'm more comfortable with that. I don't know if it's true or not. I don't have my own personal data. I'll let you know in a couple years if it's true.
Ed and I'll tell you when we finish our series.
That's right. We'll let you know.
Yes.
Taylor can tell us if it's different when they're standalone books.
Right.
My hunch is probably not.
I think it's the same momentum building.
I do.
Yeah.
And listen, as a reader, I'm an author nerd. I mean, I subscribe to author newsletters. My personal email box is bills and author newsletters.
Same.
I mean, really. And you guys, I save them up and read them on Saturdays, and Saturday morning is the best day. I lay in bed and I read author newsletters, and then Saturday afternoon, I listen to all the podcasts I haven't had time to listen to all week. And it is the best day in the whole wide world ever, every week. And I'm just going to tell you, because as an author nerd, I love nothing more than a 3-paragraph sneak peek and what you've got coming out. I call them the thrown away chapter, the part you edited out that you really loved, but just doesn't fit in the book, that you might put in a short story collection. I'm telling you, I will sign up for any newsletter or any book funnel or any crazy anything to get my hands on that lost chapter.
Shouldn't have said that in front of me. I'll send anyone anything.
I'm just telling you,
Really well.
I'm telling you it's true, though. I'm telling you those are the things that really work.
Right.
I mean, nobody cares who your publisher is. Nobody cares what bookstore you're in, because your bookstore can order 90% of the books as long as you're on a distribution that your bookstore can access. Who they care about is who you are. They want to be sold you. Right. And so if you've got a newsletter and you occasionally throw out a freebie of some kind. Maybe it's a lost chapter, or the character that got completely written out of the book. It's a character study or a character sheet. I'm telling you, I live for those Saturdays, my friends. I live for them, and I don't think I'm alone.
No, you're not.
I am a crazy reader.
Speaking
So
of,
spam you now.
Where do you?
Yeah.
So, given that you've released a new book today, where can we find you on the internet?
Oh yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
And do you have a newsletter?
Everyone.
And if you don't, can you start one?
So everyone has to answer that though.
Oh God.
Okay, let's do it, because we gotta wrap up. Stu
No.
and I have to go back to the day job, but let's do it. Okay, so Taylor, you start. Where do we find you on the internet?
Me?
Yeah.
Why?
You.
Yeah.
You got a book
okay.
coming out.
Awesome. We love you.
Yeah.
You can find me at my name at Taylor L. Quote on every single social media website, unfortunately, for you and for me. I have a Substack called Hallowed Words, hallowedwords.substack.com. And you can pre-order my book on all major retailers, but I prefer you go through your local indie or at least bookshop.org.
Great.
And I will say with Taylor's and with Ed's books, because they are not UK published, it's US published, you can get them in the UK. I have pre-ordered through Blackwell's for both of them. And the same for
Sure.
Amanda's as well. You can order them through Blackwell's. And obviously as well, but
Right.
Yeah.
yes, Ed is fantastic at reading stuff. So if you haven't checked out the
Oh,
Nightmares and
nice.
Dreams on my YouTube channel, you can hear Taylor and Ed and I all read from our books.
Yes.
Oh, thank you, Liz. That's so nice. I mean, I think I have a very silly reading voice, but it's not up to me. So
That's right. That's right. Everybody's got an audience. All right, Ed, where do we find you?
So I'm Ed Crocker Books on Blue Sky Insta, which is mainly where I hang out. Been doing a bit on TikTok and Threads, just not Twitter, everywhere but except Twitter, basically. And since you've been talking about newsletters, you've triggered me to talk about mine. I do one called Get Cropped. It's like a bumper newsletter. It's like 15,000 words, so it's like book news about other books, like a short story every single month, a giveaway, and all the standard author stuff. Next one's coming out next week, I think. So yeah, the link to that is on all my socials or my website. Well, I was about to say website, but like I've not really done much on my website. I feel like it's all just like link in bio now. You don't need a website anymore, but that's a bit controversial. Anyway, forget that. So yeah, sorry, that's another topic for another day. You can find my website on my socials. So yeah, Ed Crocker Books everywhere, and please sign up to my newsletter. I think it's good.
I will attest that both Taylor and Ed have enjoyable newsletters.
I do.
Although I don't know where Ed finds the time to do all of the reading, editing, writing, and do a short story every month. I don't think
No
he's-
social life. No social life.
Don't make us feel bad, bro. Like,
I know, it's like setting the bar too high.
You don't want to be me.
unfortunately, my bar is dug into a trench. So
Okay,
That
so,
is very not true.
Thea, where do we find you?
So I am Alethea Lyons on pretty much everywhere.
Oh my God.
You're just finding out how to say my name.
we're having revelations.
This is amazing. You've been saying the name wrong.
We've
Oh
known each
my
other since
gosh.
August 2022, for the record. But yes, I am Alethea Lyons on pretty much all social media. I'm most active on Instagram and Twitter at the moment, but I'm trying to expand in other places, so please come say hi. And my newsletter is on Substack under the same, Alethea Lyons. And I send out a very erratic monthly newsletter that has book updates, reviews, character interviews from my insane tea shop characters to whoever wants to come along and bring their character.
I love character interviews. Okay, you had one last question, your wrap-up question?
Yeah, one real, if you can do it quickly or briefly, but can you throw any hints or teasers at us for the Dreamcatcher?
For Dreamwalker.
Dreamwalker, right? Dreamwalker. Sorry.
I am 65,000 words in. I have not murdered anyone yet. This is a personal best that I'm quite proud of.
Yeah.
I know, it's, yeah.
I don't believe you.
There are
Seems unlikely.
I mean, it's possible that they would rather I murdered them than what's happening to them. So that may not be a good thing.
I have a
Good
guess,
team.
but I don't want to say it in case I'm right. I think is there a clue in the Somnia about what's happening to them, or a clue in a collection about what's happening to them?
Maybe.
Yeah, I know what it is, but I'm not going to say it in case I'm
Okay,
right.
you have to tell me later so I can tell you if you're right or wrong.
I definitely know what it is.
Yeah.
And yeah, it is arts based, so theatre, opera, painting, etc.
Okay. Very fun.
And as I mentioned briefly before, we have romantic subplots. We actually have 3 romantic subplots because my characters made their own decisions.
All right. I love it.
Yeah, and
I love it.
fell in love with people, and I'm like, okay, apparently we're doing this.
Let's do it.
So yeah,
They're
it
old
should
enough.
be dark and a little bit romantic.
Okay.
So excited.
Can't wait. I can't wait. Well, thank you so much for joining us, and congratulations.
Thank you.
On the launch of the Somnia. And guys, we'll see you back here this time next year for the 3rd book.
Tonight.
All right. Have a great
Thank
afternoon or evening, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye.